The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Excited to have you all here. And for those of you who don't know, my name is Josh Shanley. I'm sort of the host and moderator today. I'm the co-founder of Client Alchemist. I'm also a licensed agent with eXp Realty. We have a very special guest with you today. And not just that, what he is going to walk you through is truly a unique opportunity. And I know you're probably being bombarded with that sort of message in our industry pretty frequently, but I mean that sincerely in this case, and you'll understand and see what I'm talking about as Bob, our special guest, walks you through today's training class. Now, if this is your first time seeing this training, prepare to have your mind blown, and I really mean that. If you've been on one of these before, because Bob and I have done a few of these over the last few months, understand that you will probably get something new out of this. And Bob has updated and even was just sharing with me before we went live some incredible results of agents just like all of you, throughout the country. So before we do that, before we dive right in, just a couple of housekeeping items for everyone. If you can please let me know in the Q&A box, please let me know if you can hear us and if you can see. There's a Tom Hopkins quote right now. Let us know, and where you are dialing in from. That would be great. Kevin Buckley says yes. Appreciate that, Kevin, from Orlando. Right on. Good stuff. Dallas area, Tanya, thank you, thank you. Come on, folks, don't be shy. Don't be shy. Tim and Tina, Jeremy from Vegas, Dallas, Rockville, Roger, good, visual good. Nicole from Ohio, Jim from Chicago, another Orlando. So awesome, good. So we've got that. That's number one. Number two, um, this is cliche. You probably hear this on all of these. If you get on webinars like this, but do yourself a favor and do Bob a favor and get rid of all distractions. What we're asking for here is your undivided attention for the next 75 minutes or so, maybe a little longer with Q&A, because this topic, as you see as Bob goes through it, tends to lend itself to a lot of questions. But if you can get rid of distractions, close your office door, maybe even lock it, turn your phone on vibrate, close down social media and other web browsers, I promise you this: if you give Bob your undivided attention, you're going to get a lot more out of the time you spend here today than if not, than if you're distracted, if your cell phone's going off, if people are coming in and out of the office, right? So, nothing, the world is not going to end in the next 75 to 90 minutes if you get rid of those distractions. And quite honestly, probably quite the contrary, right? Next, make sure you have a pen and paper handy. And take notes. There is something about putting pen to paper that creates connections and different. It's just a different response than if you're not actively engaged. You'll get more from your time here today if you're doing that. Now, that said, we will do our best to get, for all attendees, a recording of today's training and the slides from today's training. So for all of you interested in that, we'll do our best to get that out to you later today or first thing in the morning. However, that said, I would still encourage you to take notes. And then the last thing I'll say, and probably the most important one, is to remain open-minded about what Bob's going to walk you through. Don't bring any of your preconceived notions in here. Just be open to this idea. And it's out of the box, right? For many of you, it's going to be very much out of the box. But for those of you who embrace it, and Bob's going to share with you some incredible stories of people that have embraced it. In fact, one relatively new person, following what Bob is going to walk you through here today, took 13 listings, 13 new listings in 2 weeks' time, right? And this is right here and now. This isn't like some old story from years ago. This is literally just happening. Okay. So with all of that said, I'm going to introduce very quickly our special guest today. His name is Bob Mangold, and Bob has a ton of experience in the real estate industry, both as a real estate agent, a real estate broker, a mortgage broker. He's built multiple businesses up. He's sold them. He's created a number of different systems and methodologies and training programs. And most importantly, he is been an extremely high producer himself, and B, has helped many, many, many other agents just like you become high producers and become extremely profitable in their businesses. And I think Bob's unique talent is creating marketing systems that help give you an advantage, give those that implement it a unique advantage, and helps them be the most profitable version of their business. And he's doing that right now with a number of other people all throughout the US, Canada, beyond. And you're going to have that same opportunity today if you remain open to it and if it resonates with you, right? Because that's the thing. Like, this is going to resonate with you or it's not. And if it does, then I would encourage you to dive right in and take action on what Bob is going to cover with you here today. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Bob. I'm going to move into moderator. I'm going to moderate the chat. I'm going to take notes myself, and then I'll hop back on at the end to help moderate for Q&A as well. So without further ado, the floor is yours, Bob.
Thanks, Josh. Well, that's an introduction I have to live up to now.
Exactly.
So, hey, folks, thanks for being here. Through rapid change, and we've got to be able to take and adjust to that. And so one of the things that I want everybody to understand is, let's follow some basic principles of how the most successful agents work. And one of the things I want to do is just give you full disclosure up front. If you're on this call and you're from Kentucky, currently I can't help you with this. There's just some laws and guidelines in Kentucky. If you want to talk about how we can do it and stay on and learn about it, definitely do that. But I want to give somebody full disclosure. If you don't want to sit on here, currently I can't help you in Kentucky. So I don't want to have anybody on here and think that they're wasting their time. I would encourage you to stay on here because you might be able to help me get set up in Kentucky. So with that going forward, I always tell agents real estate's actually a very simple business. It's the real estate agents that make it hard. And I'll be honest with you, it's not just the real estate agents, but it's all the companies marketing to agents, right? I mean, we get all these shiny objects. Josh has some, I have some. Make full disclosure, we have them. But at the end of the day, if we understand one basic principle, it's going to make life a lot easier, right? So here's a question I have for all of you. Which would you rather have? Which kind of lead would you rather have? A Facebook lead, a Zillow lead, or a seller who's raised their hand and said, I need to sell? Which one do you want? Throw it in the chat box for me. Takes a few seconds for you guys to click in. If anybody answers anything other than 3, you're in trouble. Okay, thank you. So it takes a couple of minutes to a couple seconds to come through, right? Because we know we can get paid. Well, here's the cool part. Right now, today, there are active sellers in your market raising their hands saying, hey, I want to sell my house. The problem is you got to find out, right? And so that's why I always say that the real estate business is easy, because it's been proven over decades and decades that the most profitable and efficient business that any agent can create is to be carrying a pipeline of at least 10 listings every day of the year. And let's be honest, guys, if right now in your pipeline you had 10 listings, what would your cash flow look like, or at least be able to project out? I'd be curious, anybody on the call have at least 10 or more listings right now? If you do, raise your hand, tell me how many you have. But what we're going to talk about is, how do we take and model what's successful in the real estate business? Now, this book is a good 20 years old. I think it was written in 99, so it will bring us right to 20 years. And what it was is, Gary Keller analyzed the top 50 agents at the time, and he looked for commonality in what are the things that these top producers do that are in common, that they have in common, so that the everyday agent can mimic this. And the number one thing that he found was, well, they all have a pipeline of listings. So not one person on here said that they've got more than 10 listings. So we got the right crowd. Somebody said I'd be thrilled. So at the end of the day, guys, we have a model that we can follow. Now, if you want a good laugh, though, go back and read the book. I actually go back every 2 years or so and reread this. Some of the marketing strategies like classified ads and stuff like that, you'll laugh at because the technology just wasn't there with, that there is now. But the commonality in the fact that every top producing agent in any market are the listing agents, right? Tom Hopkins says it, Gary Keller says it. It's just the way it is. The problem is that, well, we need the listings. And how do we get that? And so that seems to be the dilemma. Yet to me, I think it's very, very simple because, well, there's a couple of groups of people that have raised their hand and said, I want to sell. My challenge for you today, Josh kind of intimated at it, to produce at the highest level, you can't do what everybody else is doing. And the reality of it is right now, the real estate market is changing. And it's changing at a very rapid pace. And it's not really for the consumer. Let's be honest. In my opinion, for the consumer, it hasn't changed much. There's been IDX websites out now for 15 years. There have been CRMs out for 15 years. They've had the ability to do it. It's not that that's changing so much. It's the number of competitors that we have and who's coming in and stepping on our market. And the truth is, guys, if you don't start to think outside the box, thinking that we're going to keep doing what we've been doing the last 50 years, I would tell you that that's career and cash flow suicide. So what we want to do is start thinking differently. And I promise you, I'm going to give you something different to think about today, right? So here's a question I have for you. How many FSBO appointments could you set? Here's a script that we use. Hey, Bob with eXp Realty, calling to get a little information on your home. Wanted to see if I brought you a buyer at a price acceptable to you. Would you pay me a 3% finder's fee? Nothing unique about that. But what I want to do is I want them to commit to me that they would pay me a 3% finder's fee. Notice also that I don't call it a commission, I call it a finder's fee. Words are important. And so what I want to do is I want to get them to commit that yes, they would pay. And anybody who's called FSBOs in the last 30 days, I was actually calling FSBOs with some of my agents. I have a 380 agent team across 31 states and 2 provinces of Canada. So I actually do this training with them very, very frequently. So I was on the phone yesterday making FSBO calls. I don't use commission, I use finder's fee. My next question is, so by the way, and they'll go, yeah, I would do that. Great. Can I stop by and look at the house? Yeah. Hey, when I'm there, by the way, remind me to talk about a platform I have that's specifically designed for private sellers like you, where you pay 0 commission or fees. You get top dollar for your house. It only takes us 14 days. We drive all the marketing from your home. We control when it's shown, and we handle the entire transaction. Can I stop by for about 20 minutes and walk you through what that looks like? Guys, how many appointments, if you called 10 FSBOs, and assuming you got a hold of them, I know you won't, but assuming you got a hold of those 10 FSBOs, how many people would let you come over and talk to them and actually expect for you to make a presentation? Because see, it's different than saying, hey, let me come over, I got some buyers for you. How many out of 10 do you think would let you come in and sit down with them for 20 minutes and walk you through how that looked? I know you don't know what it looks like yet, and I'm going to walk you through that. 10 FSBO calls. How many appointments you think you can get? 1 maybe? That's it? Well, even if it was 1, what if you got 1 a day, 5 a week? How about the rest of you? How many do you think you could get out of 10? Well, I can tell you, my guy in Minnesota took 13 listings in less than 2 weeks doing it. And so at the end of the day, guys, we've got to have something different to approach people with, right? Same thing on the expireds. Hey, Bob with eXp Realty, notice your home hasn't sold yet. Calling to see what happened. Still planning on moving. Well, if I had a platform specifically designed for sellers like you, where their home didn't sell the first time, where you pay 0 commission or fees, get top dollar for your house, it's only going to take us 14 days. Here's the good news. I'm sure you're tired of showing your house and getting in and out. We're going to handle all that stuff for you, so you don't have to worry about it. We're going to take care of the whole transaction. Can I stop by for 20 minutes and walk you through that process? Oh, well, we think we're going to stick around another 6 months, see what happens. Great. Well, why don't I stop by, show you what it's like, so 6 months from now you'll be ready and you'll understand. Same thing, guys. If you call 10 expireds, how many people you think would let you come in? And can we agree that that's not saying what everybody else is saying? I mean, let's be honest. The number of FSBO and expired scripts out there are very, very limited, and every agent's saying the same thing or a very basic version of it. Now, I know you're probably going, well, I don't get how you would do all that. And that's what the purpose of the call is today. What I want you to understand is if we have a different process that we can talk to sellers about, How will that work for us? And the reason that this is so important, folks, is that we have to respond to the competition that's out there. Now, the way that we do it is using an online real estate auction platform. And you can do just like Ryan did and went out and took 13 listings in a couple weeks. You have the ability to do it. Whether or not you do it is up to you, but you have the ability to do it. And you can carry a pipeline of at least 10 listings if you're willing to do the work. Because while it gets better than just FSBOs and expireds, and as I walk through, I'll talk to you about the benefits to an investor, right? So how many fix and flippers are in your market? How many builders are in your market that refer listings out to local agents? How about divorce and probate attorneys? Well, this platform is going to give you the ability to be able to have something completely unique and fill the headaches that the FSBOs, the expireds, the investors have, the builders, the divorce attorneys, right? Zig Ziglar said, if you want to get wealthy, solve people's problems. Well, we can solve their problems with this. The other cool benefit for you as an agent is that you can use these listings to get hundreds of buyers into your open houses and get them pre-approved on the spot. So far, our best open house right now in San Diego was 417 people in a weekend. 57 of them were pre-approved to buy. Anybody ever had more than 417 people at their open houses? Anybody? Raise your hand, put it in the chat box, and let me know if you have. Because the process that we use to take and list the home and market the home facilitates us being able to do that. But it's different, right? So here's Larry White. Larry's one of my agents in Houston going, hey, does this really work? Well, he rolled out his free 14-day listing program 2 weeks ago. He's got 4 listings he took. He got 8 buyer leads just from the internet traffic. He did one open house with 112 people in it on like a horrifically rainy day. He received over $90,000 over the list price with 45 bids. In order to be able to bid, folks, those people had to be pre-approved. So that means he's got 45 pre-approved buyers. The seller paid 0 commission, and his 4 agents that work the open house have 25 different or buyer leads to work with. That's not bad for a couple weeks worth of work, right? My question is this the kind of business that you want? I mean, full disclosure, how many of you guys would be willing to take and have this kind of stuff? It almost scares you, those numbers, doesn't it? But if you do it and you implement, it'll change your life, right? Now, you may be going, well, auctions aren't common. My gosh. Well, actually, they are. You know, there are platforms out there like Hubzu for FSBOs, auction.com and Zome, primarily for foreclosure properties, right? It's what the lenders use. Then you have concierge and elite auctions that do the multi-million, the 10 million and above. And so the question is, well, where does the everyday seller fit in this? And the answer is they really don't, right? So here's the question that I have for you. This is your biggest challenge, and I'm going to spend some time on it, right? What are you doing right now to compete for listings with other agents in your market, the discount brokers, new technology like Amazon? You guys know Amazon's in the real estate business now, right? And Zillow, and Opendoor, and OfferPad, and all the other iBuyers out there. What are you doing? I mean, you're going to have to figure out some way to compete with them, right? So I got to change the purple bricks because they've gone out of business. So I'm going to use Rex as another example. But you got all kinds of people out there, you know, on business things saying, yeah, the days of paying 6% commissions, they're over. I seen a TV commercial. I think it's like Agent Light or something. And it's like, oh, with technology's changed everything. Why are people still paying 6% to sell a house when you can do it for 2%? Well, they get a bunch of agents to take a listing for 2% and pay a 3% buyer broker fee. Well, goodness gracious, folks, how's that different? But you got Clever out there. You got Redfin out there, right? Redfin's a major player in this stuff. Yeah, Purple Bricks is out of business. They folded. So I got to change that slide, and I'm going to use Rex as an example because, well, that's another one. So here's another thing that you got to understand, folks. Redfin's working to cut you out of the business. So they unveiled an option to cut out buyer's agents, so that you literally can go and submit your offers on the Redfin website. Isn't that kind of an auction? I mean, you don't get the ability to bid and outbid, but what Redfin said, hey, we got all this website traffic, and they do. Make no mistake about it, they do. And they just said, hey, all you buyers out there, quit paying those buyer broker fees. Come to Redfin. We're going to walk you through. You can just submit your offers online. We'll even teach you what to bid. What are you going to do to compete with that, folks? When your buyer says to you, it's like, hey, dude, that's really cool, but, I'm just going to go to Redfin and I can just submit my offer on there and I save that real estate commission. How are you going to respond to that? That's the dilemma, right? Then we have this company called Rex, brand new into the market. And literally by the time I did this was March 22nd of this year, they did a $45 million funding to open up in Philadelphia. About a month and a half later, they did like $140 million round of funding, and they just expanded to Phoenix and Southern California, and I believe Denver. Just another discount broker. Oh, and by the way, when you do a little research on Rex, here's what they're going to tell you. Yeah, we don't work with buyer brokers. So somebody comes in and works with a Rex person or online, they won't accept an offer from you because they're not paying you a commission. Guys, these people are here already. This isn't a question of are they coming. They're here. What are you going to do about it? Right? Then we got our Open Doors, OfferPad, Zillows, We got all these, right? What are you going to do to compare with these? Now, here's the thing that I want you to understand. I don't know Shelly, by the way. I left her name up there because she's of no particular. I don't know her. But this is what agents are doing to ourselves to shoot ourselves in the foot. A buyer's agent no-show at 7:30 on a Friday night. It's the third time this has happened to my sellers. No text or calls, just agents not showing up. Boy, Open Doors looking more and more appealing. Folks, our lack of professionalism is actually forcing the consumer to say, you know what, I'm willing to sacrifice some equity not to put up with this garbage. And you go, well, how big of a market do they have? Well, just so you know, last year alone, Open Door had a 17% market share in Phoenix for 2018. One company, Open Door. Between Open Door and OfferPad last year, they sold over $1.110 billion in real estate in the Phoenix market. So people are willing to give up their equity in exchange for being able to sell it fast and eliminating the headaches. What are you going to do to compete with that? And gosh, do you know that they also partnered with Lennar? And if you noticed, Open Door partnered with Keller Williams yesterday. And all they're doing is, hey, if you go to a Lennar subdivision, they won't write your contract till you have an Open Door offer in your hand. Now you may be going, well, yeah, but they're stealing their equity. Well, you got Zillow out there that launched the whole instant offer thing, and because originally they were telling you, no, realtors were doing this to sell you more leads. Well, then in Arizona, well, they went and got a broker's license, but said, no, folks, don't worry about it. We're not getting into that business. I mean, God, we would never do that. Then they partnered with a company here called West USA to figure out the market, and before you know it, 6 months later, they put their first home under contract. They sold so far in the last 6 months, I believe it was 178 homes, right? They're actually hiring people here. They're hiring recruiters to hire agents and human resource and all that stuff, right? They just expanded. If all these markets that are in yellow or orange, whatever it looks like on your screen, they're expanding there. Folks, they're coming to our markets. And then this was from an Inman article the other day. It used to be, folks, that all their revenue was coming from a premier agent, right? 70% of their revenue. Now it's down to 38%, and they estimate it'll be down to about 20% because all their money's going into buying these houses. What are you going to do to compete? Then they acquired a company called Mila, Mortgage Lenders of America, turned it into Zillow Mortgage. And even though Zillow is losing about $2,900 per home, their strategy is that we'll get more and more people to do their loans and their title stuff with us, just like Open Door. You have to use their title company, so we'll make up the losses that way. That's how it's working, guys. And the day after they bought Mila, Spencer Raskoff goes on TV and says, hey, guys, you know what? We hope people start looking at us as, instead of being a place to advertise, to a company that's more involved in the entire transactions. 6 weeks later, he was fired because he revealed what their plan really is. And I don't have it, but the other day, the new CEO on an Inman stage came right out and said, this is our goal. We're in this business. We're premier agent. We don't really care much about anymore. Amazon cut a deal with Realogy to generate leads for them. You think that's where they're going to stop? How are you going to compete with that? Then your lenders are getting into our business. So Quicken Loans, which is the largest mortgage company in the world, created Rocket Homes. So when they have all the data, when they know people's credit score and debt to income ratio, and when they pull a mortgage credit report, they get their stuff over to a Rocket Homes agent. By the way, those Rocket Home agents are getting paid somewhere between 35 and 45% on the deals because they're just handing them to them. Guys, they're taking your customer, marketing to them, and flipping them over to a Rocket Homes agent. And then, of course, we have our lawsuit going on. It started out with NAR and Reality and Home Service. We're all going to get dragged into it. Doesn't matter who it is, right? Saying, well, why is the seller paying the buyer broker compensation? Now, I don't know how that's going to come out. But the only thing I do know is that it's out there. And no matter what happens, we don't win. Because the sellers are going, well, why would I pay that? And it's a legitimate question. And so today I'm going to show you a system to solve all that. So that's all it is. But here's the thing, guys. Change is scary. I get it. Oh my gosh, this is new. I haven't heard of it. I haven't tried it. I haven't seen it. I haven't, right? You actually have. But change is scary. I get it. But in my opinion, tell me if you agree with me or not, if you don't make some changes to deal with all this competition, that's way more risky than doing nothing and hoping things are going to get better. Amazon's not going to run out of money. Open Door is not going to run out of money. Zillow's not going to run out of money. There's always been discount brokers. The only question is, what value proposition do you have as an agent that you can share? If you don't have it, you're in trouble, right? Old habits die hard. Insanity is the definition of doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. You have to change with the market, right? And so for us, we have to understand there's really only three things the seller wants. Tell me if you think there's any more. They want the highest possible price or net, right? They think of it in terms of net. They want the house sold fast, and they want the least amount of hassles, right? Anything else you guys can think of, just punch it in the chat box for me. There's like a 30-second delay. So if you just understand, this is what the seller wants. Guys, what kind of systems do you have in place that can ensure they have the ability to get the highest price possible? What system do you have? Punch it in for me. Raise your hand if you have a system for that. What's your system for selling it fast? Right? Is the answer having to just run more Facebook ads on your property, or I'm going to run more Google pay-per-click, or I'm going to do a drone video tour? Guys, is that really going to sell a house faster and the highest price? I mean, the consumer doesn't know that, but we do, right? And then how are you going to eliminate the hassles of, oh my gosh, you know, they didn't show up at 7:30 on Friday night? What do you guys have to combat that? Now, we've got a ton of agents on this call. So far, nobody's punched it in. So I'm assuming you don't have an answer for it. So I'm going to give you an answer today, right? And so we're going to walk through that entire process of how we do that. Buyer leads, call for offers. Oh, you can have a database. That's cool. But can you pretty much give them, say, hey, I got all these leads, so I can guarantee you I'm going to sell your house in 14 days, or I've got, they're going to pay the most amount of money? You don't have a vehicle to do that. And that's what's important to understand. So, well, why start targeting FSBOs, expireds, and investors? Well, they're low-hanging fruit, folks. I mean, let's be honest, they're easy to find. And if you have a good story to tell, they're very simple to convert into listings, right? Now, for me, I use RedX to gather my FSBOs and expireds, but you can use FSBO.com for salebyowner.com. In my opinion, hey, here's a great use for Zillow. They have them, right? But the problem for FSBOs, they don't want to pay a commission, do they? Can we agree, guys, raise your hand, put it in the chat box, that 99% of FSBOs, the only reason that they really decide to do it is they just don't want to pay a commission, right? Raise your hand, put it in the chat box. Let me know that you get that. That's their number one objection. You think they want to do it? Well, what if there was a way to charge no commission and you still got 3 to 6% on every listing? And I know right now that screen is making your brain short circuit going, huh? How could that be possible? Right? And so at the end of the day, there is a way to do that. And it's using an auction platform, an online bidding platform, right? And I'm going to teach you how that works today. I'm going to walk you through the listing presentation, the systems, the objections, all that stuff. We're going to look at the numbers and all of that, right? I'm going to show you some results. There's 3 basic strategies that I'm going to walk you through. Number 1, why you should use an online auction for all of your listings, or at least offer is what I really want to say. Whether they choose to do it or not, I mean, what happens if you walked in, they said, yeah, I want to learn about this system to do that, and they go, no, I don't want to do it. Let me just do a traditional listing. Anybody not okay with that? And so we're going to teach you how to target the FSBOs, expireds, and investors. We're going to talk about what we tell them and why it's to their benefit. And then third, I'm going to show you how to get the appointments and what to say in the listing presentation. But I'm going to give you a quick background. This is actually my son. He's a licensed realtor in Scottsdale. But he's a young guy, so he's actually pretty smart on all the technology thing. And we were talking about it one day, and he goes, hey, what would happen if I could create a platform for it? Can you help me with all the marketing with it? I said, well, that's kind of what I do. But here's this young kid that came up with this strategy, starts using it in his business. He's an amazing video marketing guy, same with Google placement, and he's just a geek, right? Like all the young kids. And so at the end of the day, we put this thing together, and I came aboard to help him because, well, I've been doing this a long time. I've been doing this since 1992. I started as a lender, then became a realtor. I'm licensed in California, and I put together systems to generate leads and convert them. The truth is, folks, what I'm really good at is creating lead conversion systems. Because see, for me, I don't care how many leads you have. That's irrelevant to me. If you can't convert them, who cares? Right? You could tell me I got a 3,000 person database. My question is, how many of them do you turn into deals, close deals every month? I owned my own company for 9 years. I built the fastest growing exit realty franchise in history. In 2002, I was written up in National Relocation and Real Estate magazine. My first year as an agent, because I was a lender first, I did $23 million, and I did $41 million in loans with me and a receptionist. But the real reason I wanted to show you this article, since 2002, I've been preaching to agents that you have to differentiate yourself to the consumer. If you can't give them a good reason to hire you, folks, they simply won't. And until agents figure that out, by and large, guys, we're a commodity. There's about 1.4 million of us in the United States. In Arizona, 1 out of every 6 people are a realtor. Hey, my brother-in-law lists the house. We just took a listing where their brother is an agent, and the brother said, hey, I can't do that for you. The truth is, we're talking to him about joining our team now. But at the end of the day, they listed with us even though their brother was in there and wasn't going to charge them a commission because of the auction platform. The other thing is I have investors in 42 major markets that will make cash offers on homes if you find a tenant to do a lease option, right? Because we don't want to work with renters, let's be honest. But I have investors in 42 major markets that will come and pay cash for the house and pay you a 3% commission, right? I have an investor in 6 states that will make cash offers on a house, and when they flip it, you get the listing and they'll pay you full 6% commission. If you're in California watching this, we have an online iBuyer marketplace to sell homes to dozens of institutional investors, not Zillow, not Opendoor, not OfferPad, where we can earn up to 10.5% of the commissions. We have investors that want to buy commercial properties. We have investors who want to buy fix and flips. We have investors who will pay market value for property because they want to turn them into rental properties, right? What is it that you have available to you? I mean, if I walked into a listing presentation and said, hey, I've got this iBuyer marketplace where I can take and go and sell it, and let's say I find an institutional investor who wants to pay cash and pretty much pay market value because they're going to rent it out, and I can get paid up to 10.5% of it. That'd be pretty cool, right? And then finally, I've got relationships with some of the top REO providers in the country who'll run to our agents to use the platform that I'm going to show you today. It's actually part of our strategy of how we can take and attack the REO market. Okay? So I'll talk about that later. So the question is, why should you attend or why should you offer an online auction? Well, it's pretty simple, guys. I have 3 choices to sell your home when I walk in. Typically, you have one. Hey, I can sell it traditionally. I got lots of these people out there teaching agents, oh yeah, go get a bunch of offers from Opendoor and OfferPad. Oh my gosh, why would we do that? But nonetheless, I have investors who will make these cash offers. I can do a traditional sale or I can do an online auction where you don't pay any commissions and fees. I actually have a menu now that people can select from. I'm not like a one-trick pony where that's all I can do is a traditional listing. Guys, if I walk in and they go, yeah, I want a cash sale, I don't care. As long as I'm getting paid, I'm good. Same thing if they go, no, I don't want to mess with the auction thing. I just want to do a regular listing. I'm okay with that. The reality is the majority of people that we sit down with select the online auction process, right? So here's a question for you guys. We've got a bunch of people on here. How many of you guys have sold a HUD home? Because I know we're thinking, well, you know, no, I haven't seen any auctions. How many of you have sold a HUD home? Raise your hand, put it in the chat box for me. All right, a few of you. So tell me if this is how it works. I'll just tell you how it works in Arizona because it's all the same. It's just different dates. On Thursday afternoon, the new homes hit. Yep, got a bunch of yeses for it. So the new homes hit the HUD Home Store website. We have till Tuesday at 10 a.m. to submit the offers. So we run around during the weekend. We show them the house. We come back. They want to put an offer in. Let's say it's $200,000. We submit the offer to them online. It's totally blind. We don't know anybody else if they're bidding or not. And then they ask you, well, what's your commission? And let's say you put in 5%. In Arizona, we're limited to 5%. So your commission's $10,000. The contract price is $210,000. Now, whether you win or not, it's a different story, and it's a blind process. So you really don't know. You could be completely overpaying for the house for your buyer because they want it. But that's the process that it works by, right? And so for those of you who said, yes, that's the exact process, right? Guys, that's an online auction. The difference is it's blind. It's not transparent. Well, why would HUD do it that way? Why do you think HUD would sell their houses that way? Well, and before you answer that one, for those of you that said you've done a HUD home auction, let me know. Is that the way it works? Well, so HUD does it. USDA does it. VA does it. Fannie Freddie does it that way. Heck, the IRS does it. All your major lenders sell their houses by auction. Why do they do it that way? They get more money that way. So whoever said that, that's it. They get more money. Well, can we agree the bank's got all the money? The government can get more money anytime they want it. They just keep taxing us, right? And then, well, you got to remember, a lot of the wealthy are out there selling properties via auction. So think about this for a minute, folks. The wealthy, so they got a lot of money. The government, they got a lot of money. And the banks, well, they have tons of money. All sell their homes by auction because, well, they know they're going to get a higher price. Why aren't you, as the everyday agent, able to offer this to the consumer so that they can do the same thing that all the people with the money are doing? Oh, and here's the concept I want you to understand. Are there more like uber wealthy people or more everyday Americans needing to sell their house? It's a much bigger market. That's where you could come in. You just don't know how to do it. I mean, my question is, why haven't you been doing it that way? The truth is because there isn't a platform for agents to be able to do it. Now, I'll give you an example. This is a $35 million house in Paradise Valley, you know, the wealthiest area in Phoenix. Concierge auctions, it only does 20 million up. They've gone from 102 auctions in 2016 to 292 in 17 to 522 in 18. The first quarter of this year, I'm sorry, last year they increased their number of auctions by 125%. In the first quarter of 19, they're up 150% already. Folks, all the people with the money are doing this. The question is, why aren't you? Why aren't we making this available to the everyday person? And I'm going to walk you through the benefits for them of doing it. Heck, you got Forbes out there writing articles on how to do it. This is an article that HGTV did. I guess they did a TV show on it. I didn't see it, in full honesty. But I guess they found this guy in Arkansas who wanted to sell a house for $250. He was told, if you do it by auction, you'll get $275. Well, they actually sold it for $275. The seller was thrilled. What they did, though, is they went and did a study. About 11% of the time, auctioned homes sold for more than what the seller had previously listed the home for in a conventional sale. What that means, folks, is that was an expired listing. That the number one reason homes expire is because they're overpriced, right? Yet by using an auction, 11% of the time, they got more money than it expired at. Lord only knows what the overprice was on it, right? So NAR's out there saying, hey, there's some benefits to this. We don't know how to do it, but there's some benefits to doing it. The reason they work, folks, is because it utilizes the science of pricing, right? And this is something I use in my everyday listing presentation. This is actually a slide out of my listing presentation. But when people price their house at market value, 60% of the people who could potentially buy that house will come and look at the property. If it's 10% above, 30% will. And if it's 15% above, 10% will. Well, the opposite works. If it's 10% below market value, 75% of them will come in. If you do it 15%, 90% of them will come. What is our job really, folks? Our job is to get the maximum exposure to a property so that we can get the highest price. Do it fast and eliminate the headaches. That's what the seller wants. Well, you can't do it if you're just pricing stuff at market value. Now, the downside is I see a lot of agents go, well, just price it below market value. You can, and hopefully you got a vehicle other than multiple blind offers to get it up. But nobody really knows, right? So why would a seller want to sell their house this way? Well, number one, it's a simple sales process. It doesn't require any negotiation, although you can negotiate on it, right? Number two, they don't have to accept the auction offer. If they're not happy with the price, they have the right to accept, reject, or negotiate. They're not locked into anything. So they have nothing to lose, right? The buyer pays, I said this really to be politically correct, the buyer pays most or all of the real estate commissions in the buyer's premium. The truth is they pay all the commission. And you go, well, no buyer would do that. Really? Well, don't tell that to HUD. Don't tell that to VA. Don't tell that to USDA, because that's how they do it. Don't tell all the auction sites that sell the foreclosure property that, because, well, that's how they do it. That's how auctions are done. And I'm going to explain that in a little bit more detail in a minute. So now if the buyer's paying all the real estate commission, when I talk to a FSBO or expired, I can go, hey, you're not paying any commission. The auction deadline creates a buyer urgency. Our typical auction is 14 to 30 days, depending on price. We've sold them as little as a week. I'm going to show you one we did in Banning, California. It was only a week. So it eliminates, like if they're an investor, it eliminates carrying costs. If they've got another house and they already closed on it and they're carrying 2 mortgage payments, it's faster. And so at the end of the day, for the seller, it's great. You set the terms and day of your auction so that you can plan your life accordingly. Here's how it works. We don't put a lockbox on the house. We have an open house on Saturday and Sunday, a few days before the auction will end. So typically I recommend everybody end them on Wednesday at 5 p.m. They have Saturday and Sunday to come and check out the house. And the reason I close it on Wednesday, because the lender sits the open house with you. And the truth is they're really doing a pre-qual. But they have Monday, Tuesday, and half of Wednesday to get your lender, their pay stubs, their tax returns, and their bank statements. And they're not allowed to bid on the property until you have all that. Why? Well, one is we don't want to take and have a bunch of people who can't buy the house driving the price of the house up. And, really that's not fair to the rest of the bidders, right? Number two, I could have all the neighbors come in and do the same thing. Go, hey, watch us rocket the equity in our neighborhood. So we want to have some control and some ethics in these auctions, right? So we set the time and day of that. So they only have to leave their house on Saturday and Sunday. There's no showings. Trust me, you'll get agents calling you, oh, I got this guy, I want to show it. We don't do it. There's a reason for it psychologically, right? The competitive bidding process helps you receive the true market value of your house. So let's talk about that a minute, folks. Who actually determines the value of a house? Is it you as the agent where you walk in with your CMA? Is it the appraiser? Well, if you went in, folks, and said to the seller, well, your neighbor that has the exact same home for you as you sold for $250, so your house is worth $250, how would real estate ever appreciate? So somebody answered it right. They said the buyer. So the buyer is the one that dictates the price. That's how real estate's able to appreciate. Let me go back to those FSBOs for a minute. When you call them up and go, hey, I got some buyers, and it's like I'd like to come and look at your house. Do you think that's really why they're letting you in? What they want is they want your estimate of value. They know you don't have a buyer. So here's my answer when somebody says, well, what do you think the house is worth? Well, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, here's my real answer. It doesn't matter what I think the house is worth. The truth is it doesn't matter what you think the house is worth. It really doesn't matter what the appraiser thinks the house is worth. The only one that it matters is the buyer. My job is to try and get as many people into your house as possible. Give them a system in which they're willing to offer what they're willing to pay. So if somebody wants to pay more money for it, they can. And the more people I can get in your house, the more ability we have to drive the price up. That's the only real logical way that we can do it. Because the minute I put a price on your house, let's say $250, is somebody going to call me up today and say, I'm going to pay you $265? They're not going to do that, are they? They're going to bring you a full price offer. Well, how do we know that somebody else doesn't love, I don't know, your backyard, or I don't know, maybe you got a Viking range and they really want the house? How do I know? I don't. So let's put a system together where we can actually let the buyer determine what it is that they're willing to pay. And somebody said it still has to appraise. It does. But here's the cool part, folks. There are plenty of deals, especially in Phoenix. We have 1.6 months of inventory in Phoenix. We have lots of people bringing cash into the closings here. But it does have to appraise, and we'll talk about that. So make no mistake about it. But my point is, guys, right now as an agent, you don't have any way to take and determine the true market value of a house because the buyer does. And you don't have a vehicle to allow that. All you can do is hope that you get multiple offers and do a couple blind offer deals. Well, personally, to me, that's luck. I don't really want to run my business on luck. How about you guys? And so at the end of the day, we let the buyer determine the market value, and then you got us to handle everything for you. So now, if we remember right, well, I can sell it fast. It's only going to do 14 days. I can get top dollar for it because I've created a vehicle to do that. And I can eliminate the hassle because you only got to leave for 2 days and let me do my thing. You go, well, why would a buyer do that? Well, they got complete control over the home they want. It eliminates this whole multiple blind offer thing, which, and I know everybody on this call has probably had it, right? And you know that you overpaid for the house. What if we had a complete system to give price transparency? And we gave them the ability to preview the house, right? So there's no surprises here. I actually recommend for my sellers, they do a home inspection before we actually do the open house, right? The other cool part is I can reduce the buyer premium if they don't have an agent, or even if they do have an agent and the agent didn't get a buyer broker agreement signed, I can save them money. And all we do, folks, and this is the part that I want you to understand, all the auction process does is establishes the sales price. Once that's done, and I'll explain how that happens in a minute, we just have a normal contract and normal closing process. They can get a home inspection if the seller didn't do one. It's got to appraise. Everything else happens like normal. We do all the traditional financing, HUD VA, it doesn't matter. It's a traditional contract. Or it's just a normal contract at that point. All we do is use the auction price to establish the price, the contract price. That's it. Well, why would that happen? This is a gentleman, I forget where I even read this article, wanted to buy a house in Bellevue, Washington, put an offer in on the house. The agent never even gave him a chance to do it. They said they had multiple offers, never even gave him a chance to counter offer, which to me is just pure negligence on the agent's part, right? But nonetheless, this is what happened. And about 6 weeks after it closed, he went in, looked up the offer, and he said, hey, I would have been willing to pay $35,000 more for the house. Now, for the agent, for whatever known reason, didn't do multiple offers. I have no idea. But the buyer didn't get the house he wanted. The seller didn't get as much money as they wanted. And, well, it cost the agents a few bucks in commissions, right? Folks, auctions are the best way for everybody to win. And the truth is, it's really the only true way to make them win. So Eric says, won't the buyer premium turn buyers away? Won't a seller bring it up in the listing? Of course they will. So you got to be able to answer it. So hang on to your seats. We're going to go through all that stuff. I told you it's different, right? So Josh told you to get a piece of paper out, right? You're going to want to go through this. You're going to want to watch the replay a couple times. You may want to reach out and talk to me when we're done because I told you it's different. And so you have to understand that. But you're right. So what's the buyer's premium? It's simply the commission. It's no more or less than that. But Eric's question is a good one. Nobody's going to do that. Here's the funniest part. You know who struggles with it most? It's not the buyers and it's not the sellers. It's you guys because it's different. Oh, no buyer would ever do that. I would never let my buyer do that. Well, if not, well, then you're not doing the right thing by your buyer if you understand how it works. So let me help you do this. So here's a scenario. You list a house for 300 or you sell a house for 300 that let's say it's worth 300 and I sell it for 282. How did the seller net the same amount of money? Right? How did that happen? Well, let's go through how this works. So on the left-hand side, I have a traditional listing. Let's assume it's worth 300,000. Do a 6% listing, seller's got 3,000 in closing costs, seller nets 279, right? In the listing appointment, tell me if this is how it goes for you. So folks, I do see all your questions coming in. Just hang on to the end. I'm not even going to look at them anymore because I'm going to go through all this stuff. So hang on, pay attention to what I'm doing instead of worrying about it. And think of it this way. When you go into a listing appointment, tell me if this is kind of how it goes. They go, well, we're already looking at buying let's say a $500,000 house. And so we need to net about 275. We need to walk away with about $275,000 from this. So we figured we sell it for 300. We're going to have commissions and closing costs. We net about 280. We'd be thrilled. Is that pretty much how the conversation goes in a listing appointment? So somebody said Deutsche Bank sells their house. All the banks do, folks. So is that pretty much how it goes in a listing presentation? What the seller cares about isn't so much the price. I mean, they do, but they care about how much they net, because it is the net that counts. And don't you kind of make adjustments? Well, we could always list it at 310 and see what we get, but that's how it works. In the auction strategy, the house is still worth $300,000, and I'm going to talk about what the starting price would be, but let's assume that we ended the auction at 282. Well, the buyer's premium would be 6% of 282, or $16,920. The buyer would pay $298,920 for the house, and the seller still netted $279,000. Forget the $11 is a little bit more, right? The contract price on an auction is the final bid price. So let's say in this example it was $282,000 plus the buyer's premium. The contract is written at $298,920. You want me to go through that again? Raise your hand if you want me to go through that again. This is the concept that gets a little bit harder for us to figure out because it's different from what we typically do. All I have to do is get a final bid price of $282, because the seller still nets what they wanted to net. The buyer paid a little bit less than $300,000, and that's how it works. Well, I just assume 1% closing cost. So somebody said, what's the 1% closing cost? I just assume your normal title and all that stuff. I put a number in, that's all it is. So if it's less than that in your market, great. If it's more than that, great. So at the end of the day, that's all it works. The seller pays their own closing costs, folks. They pay their title, assuming you don't negotiate that in. So this is how it would work. Make sense? House is worth 3. Our final bid is 282. The buyer's premium, which is what we're paid on. So let's say you did a 50-50 split, 3 to the buyer's agent, 3 to you. It's about what, $84.50 or whatever it is in commission to you. The buyer paid $298. The seller nets the same amount of money. We good with that? The buyers do pay their closing costs. I'm doing this for the sellers. So the sellers pay 1%. The buyers got to pay their own closing costs. But here's a good question for you. What happens if the buyer wants to include their closing costs so that they can do that? Can they come back and let's say, hey, could you pay $4,000 in closing costs? I bid 282, so we're willing to do 286 and all that. Absolutely, you can do that. You would just bump the price to whatever, let's say 4,286, adjust your number, it comes to 304. Does it still have to appraise? Absolutely. But I'm going to guess you're probably going to be okay with a $4,000 hit there. So you could still have the seller pay the closing costs, no question. That just happens all after the bid is done. So you guys good with this concept? So then let's go to the next thing, because guys, this is exactly how HUD does their stuff. It's how Deutsche Bank does it. It's how they all do it. So we're not doing anything different than what's already available out there. It's just letting it be a system for the everyday person. Could we set commission rates to whatever we want? Absolutely. Absolutely do. So I'm going to answer a bunch of the other ones when we're done, right? So do you get a bunch of pushback? Guys, you have to educate the buyer and you have to educate the seller. So let me say it that way. There's an education process because it's different. The cool part is I know you're going to struggle with it, because the funniest thing is the agents are the one who struggles with it. The buyers and the sellers get it, because the buyer goes, well, hey, I'm okay as long as, so what you're saying is I'm going to pay 282 and then I got to add the commission. So I'm going to pay that for it. Yeah. Okay, cool. I know you struggle with thinking how that happens, but trust me when I tell you, it's funny how much easier the buyers and sellers get it, right? Because, well, we want to use the auction because it utilizes the science of pricing. So here's the best way to do this, right? It's not the only way, but I'll just tell you, this is the way that works better. Our job is to get the most amount of people into a home, right? That's what our job is. Well, assuming we have the house, a $300,000 house, which one's going to get more buyers, the 300 or the 240? Well, obviously the 240. So at the end of the day, well, what if I started listing the house at 240? Yeah, but then if we don't sell it for that, well, good. The seller doesn't have to accept the offer. But my job is to get as many people into the house as possible. So we have a whole series of things that we do geared towards marketing the property that is all based on the open house. We're not running Facebook lead ads for, hey, come and check out this house. Everything we do is driven towards getting people into the open house. Now, there's a whole series of reasons for this, and so I'm going to go through them relatively quickly. So I know I'm at 55 minutes, and I still got a long way to go, but it's different, right, folks? But very powerful. Here's the question. Would you rather generate 200 Facebook leads and put them on a drip campaign, or would you rather have 200 live bodies come into your open house that you have the ability to talk with them and establish rapport? Which one do you want? The drip campaigns or the in-person? Okay, so you guys got it, in person. The other thing is, if we can fill up a house and put hundreds of people in there, psychologically, what does it tell people that like the house and would want to submit a bid? Oh my God, I would look at all these people. My goodness, we're going to have to pay more than $240. Yeah, but I really love the house. That's the psychology of it, folks. Now, you might price the house a little lower, let's say at $240, and you go, but I'm going to get a lot of people that can only go up to $250, so they really can't buy the house. And the answer to that is yes, you're right. But think of them as they're actors in a play. My job is to get as many people in that house. By the way, if you can only go up to $250 and my buyer's agents are good at establishing rapport and converting leads, and I can teach them to do that, well, gosh, I'm going to pick up a bunch of buyer deals out of it too, right? But they also play their role in that anybody who does like the house, who can buy it, goes, oh my God, we're going to have to pay more than $240. And we mentally planted that in their head without ever having to say it, right? So all we do is we use our marketing, most of it free. I get to ask this question a lot. How much money do you spend to market a house? Well, a lot of it is free, folks, and the rest of it you can decide what you want to do. The majority of my money is spent right here. I target, because I have the ability to get lists of renters whose lease expires in the next 60 to call it 120 days. I know that their lease amount would be roughly equivalent to what their mortgage payment would be. And I market heavily to them to come to the open house. Because let's be honest, folks, what does the word auction signify to a buyer? I mean, let's just get this stuff all out. Whoever lost audio, it might be on your part because nobody else has said that. But what does the word auction signify? Deal, right? Deal. And so at the end of the day, what's every buyer want? A deal. How many of you guys would love to have the list? Somebody else already said, tell us at the end where to get that renter info. So we'll talk about how I can help you, provide you with all those things and access to our investors. We'll talk about all that at the end. My goal is to get as many people as I can. I do spend about $60 on a Facebook ad. We use something called KV Core. It's an online system that it's just really powerful, and it allows us to take and do that. Other than that, if you don't have KV Core, I don't really spend much on Facebook. I'll do all the free stuff. So you don't have to spend a ton of money. I do promote it to other agents. I know somebody asked earlier, do you put this in MLS? We absolutely do. And so at the end of the day, my whole goal is to take and get an open house where, again, depending on your market and the population, right? Hey, I can tell you we've got 417 people in San Diego. It's a big market. But if you're in a market with 2,500 people, you're not getting that many people, right? Our goal is to take and get as many people into that open house and cram them in as we can. I've had them in Temecula, California, where we actually had to hire a traffic person to handle all the traffic. Now, here's the cool part of that. There only one person can win the bid, right? And all those other people that had to be pre-approved, aren't those wonderful leads for your buyer's agents who would sit the open houses to work? Wouldn't they be wonderful for them to work with? Now, I'm going to tell you this, and I don't want you to interpret the wrong way. I want to sell every listing I have. But if I don't sell it for some reason, but I picked up 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 buyers from it, you okay? I am. One of the things I want you to understand is the auction is not going to replace an overpriced listing. An overpriced listing is going to be overpriced, whether it's an auction or anything else. And so there may be times I would, if somebody's not realistic and they said, no, I want the final price to be $325, and then you add the buyer's premium and the house is worth $300, I would personally never take that listing, auction or otherwise. But the truth is, if it's in a great location and it fits the parameters that I teach my agents on what the best listing is, and it fits that, I'll agree to do it because I'm going to do it for the open house. And then when it's all said and done, when we didn't get to the price, it's like, hey guys, I got 150, 200, 300, whatever the number is of people in, and nobody was willing to pay your price. But if we picked up 4 or 5 buyer leads, I'm okay with it. So, but again, my goal is to sell every listing. So I don't want you to take it that way. Yeah, if you're in a rural area, folks, you're not going to get 200 and 300 people to it. If you got more than 1 or 2 people, man, if you got 25 people to an open house, it would be a bonanza in your market, right? So at the end of the day, we've got all this marketing that's already built in. I mean, we could send this letter out to that database of people, right? And so that's already written. So I want you to understand that, James is one of my agents in the Inland Empire in California. He did a $500,000 home priced at $425,000. He did 0 paid promotions. He had 100 people come through in 5 hours, sold it for $15,000 more than what they wanted, right? Michael, 300 people in on a Saturday, starting bid 320, right? He sold this house in 1 week along with another house for 1 week. Robert had over 300 people come in, 45 pre-approvals, right? This is a live auction that I did and participated in Banning. That's where I'm licensed. Now, if you don't know where Banning's at, everybody was telling me, Bob, you don't get it, dude. This thing is out in the middle of nowhere. When I got out there, I realized it's in the middle of nowhere. However, their marketing was terrible. They screwed it up. They had like 20 signs, and they were like 4x6, signs. They were like, you couldn't even see them. They did everything that you could do wrong. They did wrong. Yet, we ended up selling the house for what the seller wanted it for. We started out at $199,900. We had 60 people come through. We took another listing in the neighborhood and picked up 2 buyers from it. Now, they did everything wrong. I want you to understand, you can do everything wrong and still end up okay. They didn't explain to the agents that came through, the buyers that came through, how you put bids in. So we only got 1 bid of $280. And the truth is that wasn't enough for the seller to do it. We simply called the buyer up, this one, said, hey, you were the highest offer we had, but we had a whole bunch of screw-ups in there. We got 19 people that wanted to submit offers. The seller will take $300,000 plus 5% buyer's premium, $315,000. We're going to give you half an hour. Get with your buyers and let us know if that will work. Otherwise, we're going to go to the other 19 people. Called back 5 minutes later, said, work done. This was a 7-day auction. It was only on the market for 7 days in the middle of nowhere. Every piece of marketing done wrong, and we still sold it. It still worked out okay. I don't recommend doing that all the time, but it did work out okay, right? Here's a listing that we had in Utah that I'll show you the actual bidding process in a minute, but $170,000, the seller wanted $160,000, right? That's the magic of auctions, folks. And what our goal is that we don't want to end up at $282 on that $300,000 house. We want to be able to get enough traffic through that if all we did was get it up to $290, right? You add the buyer's premium in, the seller nets $287, so they're happy. They got like $8,000 more than they wanted, and the buyer's going to pay $307,400. Chances of that not appraising are slim, but it could. And in that case, folks, it just becomes a negotiation like everything else. And so at the end of the day, it's understanding that that's what our job is, for people to drive traffic. And that's what our goal is. Can I guarantee it? No, but I have a system to be able to take and create that, right? Now, remember, that's what our job is, highest possible price. I have a way to do it. I can get it done in 14 days. Heck, I could get it done in 7 if I really want to push it. I don't recommend that, but you could. And gosh, guys, I don't have the house being shown. All I got to do is leave for the 2 days. Well, we accomplished that now. We now have a way to help a seller do that. Here's my question. Why would somebody take an open door offer that's like 15, 20% below market value with all the stuff that they do because they can do it fast, when I can do this and I can get them top dollar? Why would anybody accept an iBuyer offer? I can get it done in 2 weeks. The truth is, even when you take an open door offer, it still takes them 30 days or so to move out. Well, I have pre-approved buyers. So the truth of the matter is, if I get it done in 14 days, they can close in 14 days. I mean, shoot, at that point, we need prelim title and we need an appraisal. I can close just as fast as open door and offer pad and all the rest of them. Why would you ever work with a discount broker? Well, they're only going to charge me 1% or 1.5%. Why would you pay any percent? Pay 0. See the power of that? And guys, online auctions are the best way to do that. As a matter of fact, I don't know of another way to do it, right? So this is what your business could look like. And this is what our goal for my personal team, this is what our goal is. I want to take and use the agent who can go out on listing appointments and do the marketing to drive the open house traffic. And we refer to as open house agents. Because, well, if you take 13 listings like Ryan did in Minnesota, well, you can't sit all those open houses, can you? Now you have your buyer's agents sitting the open houses. You drive the traffic to it. So, well, you're not working every Saturday and Sunday. You can if you want. And you could in the beginning, but this is what we want to help people build. So let's just say you take a 30% referral fee from them. And I'm just going to use $250 as the average price because, well, it's kind of the average price in the US. Well, if you get 100 people into your open house, or in a small market, you get 25, 30, or 50. If those agents sitting in the open houses can't start picking up a couple deals a month from that, from people who are already pre-approved, you just hired the wrong agents. And let's just say all we have them is paying you is a 30% referral fee. Well, they got 2 closings a month. That's $4,500 to you per agent. Well, if you got 8 agents sitting open houses, well, guys, that's $36,000 a month. And if you only sell 4 of your own listings, right? Say that's another 30. That's 66 grand a month. What if it was half of that? I mean, the average agent makes $40,000 a year selling real estate. I mean, what if you made $20,000 a month? Plus, you're not having to work so hard because you're hiring those agents. This is what we're looking for to help agents build their business, right? How many of you guys are starting to see the power of auctions? How many of you guys, your mind's racing? Either raise your hand or put it in the comment box. I know you got questions. I get that. But how many of you guys are starting to see the power of this? All right, lots of yeses. Cool. Love it. Awesome. Because that's the key, folks. Do you also see how it fits into being able to compete with all this other competition? I mean, why would you ever use an iBuyer? Why would you ever use a discount broker? Why would you ever do that? Well, now it just opened all that up to you, right? So let's talk about the important stuff. Later on, I'll show you how you can do all this, right? And start using it for yourself. But how do we target the FSBOs, expireds, investors, all that other stuff? Well, guys, it's not that hard. The only thing we really have to remember for FSBOs, anyway, is that there's really only one reason. They don't want to save on the commission. In expired, they're just tired of showing the house and agents showing up and standing them all up, right? So we solve that because the buyer premium eliminates the commission to the FSBO, right? So again, I'll go back to how many appointments could you use with that script? Now that you have a better understanding of how that works, now answer that. I have clients, I have teammates in Toronto and Calgary that use this in Canada. So now that you kind of understand a little bit more how that works, now if you call 10 FSBOs, how many do you think would let you come in and talk to them? Right? I'll let you answer because there's a delay. Here's the cool part, folks. Nowadays, most of the FSBOs don't answer their phone. So full disclosure, they just don't. And when I leave a message, I just go, hey, this is Bob. I seen your house on Zillow, and I'm just calling to see if I could, if it's still available and if I could stop by and look at it. Guys, you know that like 10% of the time, they call me back. Now, most agents get frustrated with that, and I look at it as just a bonus because, well, how will you ever sell your house if you won't return calls? Now, this is a text message that one of our agents sent. That's the one where they got 340 people and 45 buyer approvals in it. Now, the only issue that I have on there is says close within 10 days. They're not closing within 10 days. You can get a under contract in 10 days, but not closing. I'm starting to find the text is working very well, sending a message like this, right? Because FSBOs simply aren't answering their phone. All right, now we're starting. Now I see a difference in the numbers. Now I got 10, 8, 7. Yeah, now that you understand how it works, you can get more people to talk to you, right? So for me, I actually love this thing. I can get anybody to send text messages out, right? I don't have to work that hard. Now, for me, again, full disclosure, I use RedX, but I want to do the math with you, right? So according to NAR, 84% of FSBOs will list their home if they don't sell it. And only 7% of people last year sold their home. Of that 7%, it's very important you know this, 94% of them sold it to somebody they knew, which means all the FSBO marketing in the world that's out there and all these goofy websites and Craigslist and FSBO.com, it doesn't work. And then what you need to know is 70% of FSBOs will list with the first agent they speak with. Guys, I don't care if they spoke to 100 agents, they're going to talk to you first when you tell them they don't have to pay a commission, right? So how many guys would spend 3 to 5 hours a week? Let's say you just target 10 FSBOs. And the reason I say target 10, I don't want to target houses I don't think I could sell. So like if it's on a busy street or it sits next to a freeway or it's underneath power lines, honestly, I don't target them because why I'm in the business of selling properties, not listing them. And so I want to pick and choose what I think I can sell. If they're ridiculously overpriced, I don't waste my time because there's enough business out there. And so in this scenario, we target 40 houses a month. Let's just say we get the 70% conversion rate. Well, that'd be 28%, right? And then let's say just 50% of them close. Well, that'd be 14 closings. Say the same thing, average commission after splits, everything's about $4,500. Well, that's $63,000 a month, folks. Are you really going to take 28 listings a month? I doubt it. It's a lot of work. What if you did half of that? What if you did a quarter? Still be good? So we're just calling using the script that I gave you. Now I'm going to call expireds. I'm going to use the same script, right? Well, let's do the math on them. 91% of them end up listing with someone. I would suggest to you that our script works extremely well because they're tired of the hassle. It isn't about commission or anything else. It's like, oh my God, I'm so tired of this. Yeah, I know. I can get you top dollars in 14 days. We're not putting a lockbox on the house. You're not going through any of that stuff, and you're not even going to pay any commission. So 91% of them, guys, we know that they're going to do it. Well, let's just say the average agent, because this is from NAR, says close 66% of their listing appointments. Same thing, 5 hours a week, target 10 expireds, and you only convert 50% of them into appointments. You're going to target 40 homes. You're going to get 20 appointments. You're going to list 13. You're going to close half of them. 63 and 27, folks, is $100,000 a month. Are you really going to do that many? I doubt it. It's a lot of work. You need to have a heck of a system. What if you did a quarter of that? What if you did 15% of that? If the average agent makes $40,000 a year, in 3 months, you could make more than the average agent. That's all we need to consider, folks. Now, I'm going to ask you this rhetorically, but would those results change your business, your cash flow, and your life? I mean, if you're one of those agents, which I know there are, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands out there that lay in bed worrying about how am I going to pay my mortgage, worrying about my next, deal so that it closes on time because I need it to pay my bills. What if you didn't think like that anymore? What if you didn't have that worry anymore? What would your life be like? Think about that. Now, let's talk about home builders. As an agent, you go to a home builder and say, hey, what do you do with the people who need to sell a house when they buy one of yours? Now we refer them out to some local agents. If they're a Lennar, they're going to send you to Open Door. Well, what if you said, well, you know what, here's what I do for people, and you walk them through the process so that I can get it sold in 14 days, top dollar, all that. What if I could do that for your people? And even if they just wanted to start with the people like, oh, they get, they're like 90 days away and they haven't sold their house yet. We're really having a heart attack. Well, why don't you refer them to me and I'll use this? What if you had 5, 6, 7 builders sending you a listing a month? What'd that look like, right? What if you started working with investors? This is just a wholesaling houses meetup group in Phoenix. What if you started going to them? Because, well, by the way, these are all people that are looking to sell houses, but they don't want to use realtors because they don't want to pay the commission. Could you imagine hooking up with 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 flippers who do, I don't know, call it 5 houses a year. So they're not even big flippers. And you say, hey, guys, you know what? I can sell your houses in 14 days. I can get you top dollar and you don't pay any commission. Guys, I can go to these meetup groups, and it's like shooting ducks in a barrel to get these flippers to talk to you. Well, there's another resource of business. What if you had 4 or 5 flippers sending you, I don't care, call it 5 houses a year. Well, that's 20 closings a year. Do the math on that, right? How about probate attorneys? I mean, their fiduciary responsibility is to get top dollar for somebody's assets. Now you tell them, hey, I can get you top dollar. I've got a system to do that. Your clients aren't going to pay any commission, and I can get it done in 14 days. Divorce attorneys. And those people want to get out of their houses really quick, right? And of course they want top dollar, and they won't pay any commissions. What if you had 2 or 3 probate and divorce attorneys referring you deals every year? I mean, in your everyday business right now, what would you go in and talk to a divorce and probate attorney about? That they would send their clients to you, other than on chance you're personable. Again, for me, I don't like leaving my business to chance. I don't know about you, but I don't like leaving it to chance. One of the real purposes of this process, folks, is that our goal is to start targeting the REO vendors. Full disclosure, there's not a ton of foreclosure listings out there right now. But our goal is to take and start to build a process where we start being the agents that they list with, right? So if you think you just march into like a Freddie Mac and start having them send you REO, it doesn't work that way. They have a selection process. They have a pre-qualification to go to Dakota Services, a big REO provider, right? Just to give you an idea, one of the ladies on my team in Texas is the former director of Freddie Mac REO. What we're going to do is we're going to build a nationwide network of agents. Our team will get the REO assets because we're going to go to the vendors. They already know that they want to sell their house by auction. Heck, even if they had their own platform, we're going to do it because I'll do the open houses. I guarantee I'll sell it faster than they will. And I want our agents to start having that. It's really that simple. That is one of our main goals, is to be able to drive that nationwide to our team of agents. So I want you to understand that. Are we there yet? We're not. That's why we limit the number of agents. We're not looking to have 5,000 agents doing this. We limit the number we put in the market. We limit the number that we want to work with. My question to you is, what would it be worth to you long term to have a business that you had money coming in from all those sources, that you had listings coming in from all those sources, folks, in a good market and in a bad market? What do you mean by your agents? I have a 380 agent team in 31 states and 2 provinces of Canada. So what would that look like for you? Because we got to be in this for the long haul, right? We're in it for the money, right? So now how do we get the appointments and what do we say? Well, I'm going to run through this. I show you this one because this is one of the craftiest. One of my agents in Seattle does this. He actually hires his agent sitting in a Starbucks, and he does a lot of paperwork sitting in a Starbucks. He had a couple of these signs made. Yes, I did block out his URL and phone number so y'all didn't start blasting him with, hundreds of phone calls. Folks, the first time he did this, he took 6 listings. Now, one of them did come from an investor who had 3. Every time he goes to a Starbucks and does this, he gets a listing. It's the funniest thing. And the truth is, I didn't think of it either. But it's a pretty attractive thing. He just sits it up in there and then does his work and interviews and all that other stuff. Hilarious to me, right? So the script, you already know what it is. Now, here's the thing, guys. A lot of times now, just full disclosure, they're not answering their phones. So we send them a letter. And at the end of the day, I send a letter or I have a postcard. So I can do this. The way I do my own is we send a postcard first. We wait a week. We send a letter. And then I have my ISAs start making phone calls. That's the way I do it. You can do it however you want. Do you have to do it this way? No. But this is already done for you marketing, right? We have the same thing with an expired listing letter because they the same thing. They're not answering their phones, guys, right? We send a postcard like that. Can we agree by being able to eliminate the commission, sell it fast, and do everything that they want? It's kind of hard to get rejected, right? It doesn't mean you're not. Full disclosure, doesn't mean you're not. But at the end of the day, put the odds for success in your favor, right? So what do you do when you're in the house? Well, it's pretty simple, guys. Don't go in there offering all this good service stuff, right? I do this. And, my favorite, don't do this. This thing's been around for 20 years. I see this being used in listing presentations, and I want to I'm mortified. We got to be better than this. And so all we're going to do is I've got a listing presentation that you're going to educate the consumer on how it works. That's all we do. We educate them and we walk them through exactly what I walked you through today and teach them. And the truth is they got 3 choices. That's all it is. I'm going to walk through the math with them. Yeah, you do have to educate them. There's no question that you have to do that. But the reality of it is, I promise, they're less confused and they have less questions than you do right now. And I can tell you because we've done hundreds of them, right? So just use the system that we've got, walk through and educate. We're not selling anything, we're educating, right? So the other thing, folks, is start to think about how do we give our people, our consumers, experiences, right? How do we compete with all these other things going on? And it's about experience. So imagine going over to your listing at about 4 o'clock on Wednesday, bringing over a few pizza, a couple bottles of wine, and watch this bid actually happen, because most of it happens at the very end. And you're sitting there literally watching these happen live on the website, watching this happen. What kind of experience is that? Invite their neighbors over. Invite their relatives over. Oh, it's the coolest thing to watch. This is a house that the seller would have been happy selling at 160. We ended up getting 175. It did appraise. This was a FSBO that had their house listed at like 165. We did the comps and said, whoa, you're way underneath. You say, oh no, I need to do this and that. We ended up selling it for 175 plus the buyer's premium, and it did appraise. Imagine the experience of that, folks, because that's what we have to deliver to the consumers, experiences, right? That's way better than this. So we actually had all these bids on it to do it. So how many of you guys think that'd be pretty cool to be able to do? Raise your hand. So how do you do this? How do you implement this in your business? So let's ask you this. I got a couple questions for you. The past hour, actually hour and 20 minutes. I apologize, but it's a lot of stuff, right? We promised you'd be a lot of stuff. Would you agree it's been time well spent so far? Give me a hell yeah, raise your hand. And at least I got you thinking, right? But I can't go through all this stuff. I cannot teach you. Absolutely yes is hell yeah, thank you. Thanks for the hell yes. That lets me know you're there. I can't do this. I actually am looking at doing a live in-person, like day and a half training. So I'm going to ask your permission. Is it okay if I can share how you can do this? It's up to you. Don't like cussing. And I'm from the south side of Chicago, sorry. They come out naturally. I apologize. So cool. Then I'm going to show you how you can do all this and get it set up. Now, if you are in the following states, Kentucky, I already told you, I cannot help you right now. If you are in Kentucky and you like this, I still would like to talk to you because there's a way to do it. The reason is we need an auctioneer's license in California when somebody's been doing it in 3 years. So hang on to the rest, but I want you to understand anybody in these states, you're going to have a little different rules here. So not stoppable. And if you're in the Phoenix, Prescott, or Flagstaff area and you love this, then you're going to need to call me because we're going to have to talk about that because, well, that's kind of my market, right? So here's what we're going to do. We limit the number of sites. I told you we're not looking to become the biggest website company. This is not about the websites. This is about the agents that we can plug in and be able to take and start to build that network so that we can start approaching these REO people. And full disclosure, if we build our team of agents, great, but you don't have to do that. So I'm going to talk about that in a minute. What I did is for Josh's agents, here's what we're going to do. Well, you're going to need some stuff to do this. Well, you're going to need the website to do it. So we give you a fully integrated auction platform. You're not handling any part of the auction. It literally, folks, takes about 5 minutes to input the property into the website. And the website does all the work for the auction. You don't have to do anything other than put it in. It's 100% automated. It has all kinds of other features for you to use, and I'm going to walk through them as I go through this. So you're going to need to have a customizable private website. So let me go through that. So I see all your questions about CRMs, but what else are you going to need? Well, you're going to need the website, no question. Well, you're going to need to know how to do it. So what I did is I recorded a 4-week mastermind training our agents on how the sites work, what to talk about in a listing presentation. There's 4 weeks of videos. They're an hour to maybe an hour and a half. I'm going to tell you, you're going to want to go through them because all your questions get answered in that. What do we say to people? All that kind of stuff, right? All the documentation is in there. So this is what it looks like. It includes all the listing agreements, MLS language, all that stuff, right? But you're going to probably want the listing presentation. Now, you can customize it. My marketing could be different than yours, but we're going to want to be able to walk through, talk about pricing and how that process works, right? So instead of reinventing the wheel, all you got to do is pull our logos out and our name and all that other stuff, insert your pictures. But it's a PowerPoint, so it's pretty simple to do, right? Well, what else are you going to need? How about all those FSBOs, expired scripts, and all the rest of it, right? How about all the letters and everything else that you need, or the postcards? Inside the dashboard of the website, that's what it looks like. You literally can go, like this is a company that we order open house signs from. You can go right in here for Go Big Printing or Thanks IO and order that. All you got to do is upload a CSV file or an Excel sheet with your list, and everything happens for you. It's just done. So that's how we do it. So all the investor letters and postcards that we market to, all inside that where you can do that. There's a social media video script that we do after every house sells that I encourage you to get on your Facebook and social media script. It's a simple thing, folks. It's not like really sophisticated. But when you start doing these things, you start getting more and more calls for people to list your property. So we're going to give you the script to do that. Well, what else are you going to need? Well, we did all the social media ad templates. Now, you're going to have to take out the picture of the house we have in there and put your own picture in. All the languages in there. Now, like for example, it might say, open house January 5th. You have to change all that. We give you all the targeting for it. We tell you what to look at on Facebook. It's like a plug and play marketing system where you really don't have to think about it. You want to know how to run a Facebook ad. Here's what you do. Just change the verbiage. We're going to give you the targeting. We're going to tell you everything to look at. So everything is done for you. You really don't have to think about it, right? It gives you a plug and play marketing system. So remember, we're looking for the agents to become that one at the top of the tier. Well, you got to get the listings and plug into the marketing. Well, we want the marketing to be like super simple, right? What else do you want? Well, we've got this deal with thanks.io. This is a good friend of ours company, takes great care of our people. It's all kinds of stuff that you can do for other things in your business, like handwritten thank you notes and all that. Well, we get special pricing from them for our members, right? You can just send them an Excel spreadsheet and they send the cards out, right? We have a MeWe page, not a Facebook group. How many of you guys have ever heard of MeWe before? This is always a new one for people. MeWe is a Facebook competitor that they don't steal all of our private data. I do my business on Facebook, but I don't do this kind of stuff on it. So we have a private MeWe group that you can go in, and it's not a support desk. We have a support desk separate. But this is where we can go in and share ideas, strategies. I upload some different documents if I create things, right? It's when I announce that we're going to do just a call, like once a month or so. I do a call with everybody. Hey, what's going on? What's your questions? How's it going? What objections you hear and all that stuff. So we have a separate group for our members. Now, when we did this, we had a couple choices. We could go as cheap as possible, and we could sell a ton of them. But guys, that isn't what we're looking to do. We're looking for agents who take charge, want to go out and implement. We don't want to have lots and lots of websites out there where people aren't using it. We want the agents who are going to take action. We want people to use it. So our second option was require a little investment. But the truth is, guys, it's kind of a filtering process. I mean, I'm a pretty open person with everybody. It allows us to attract a more serious agent so that we can devote the resources to them so that we can have the success. Because I think we could all agree 13 listings in a couple of weeks would change your results. He works hard, though. So it's kind of a filtering system, right? So what we're going to do for the next 48 hours for Josh is we have two different ways that you can become a member, get your own website, get all that stuff. The first is you can pay annually. It's $1,999. You'd go to auctionhousepro.com, /go Josh. If you want to do it monthly, because, well, $19.99 is not cheap. I'll be the first to tell you that. And you want to do it on a monthly installment plan, you can get started for $299 for the first month, and it's $199 a month after that. But I do want you to understand that it is a 12-month commitment, because I have to spread that $19.99 over. We have expenses in this. We're looking for, specific agents. It's a monthly installment with a 12-month commitment. I get that may scare some people off, but that's how we're going to work it. Okay. So you go to auctionhousepro.com /go Josh, right? Because here's the question, guys. Every one of you would pay me a 25% referral fee. I mean, if I called you up and said, hey, I got a client buying a $300,000 house in there, you pay me $2,250, right? 25% of that. You do that all day long. Well, for $19.99, I can give you a system that you can go out and take all the listings you want. However hard you're willing to work is the amount of success you're going to have for less than one referral, guys. Now, the truth is the annual is a better deal because you save about 25% over doing it monthly, right? And you're not going to pay a setup fee because the first month is $299. Oh, let me go that. The first month is $299. That's a $100 setup fee. And so you save more money by doing it annually. But it's your call. We're okay either way. Your question may be, though, does it really work? So I'm going to play this. You should be able to hear it okay. I'm going to be quiet and let you listen. All right. So, hey, everybody, just wanted to do a quick video here. Can you guys hear that? Because it's in my headset. I just realized I'm on a headset. So you probably can't hear it. So let me know if you could hear that.
Yeah, it was really, really faint. Really, really faint.
Yeah, because you're hearing it out of my headset. So Anyway, I'm going to come back to that. Chris is one of my agents in Phoenix. He's also a flipper. In 2 weeks, he listed 5 houses and picked up 4 houses to flip. So that's the essence of it. This is the downside. Normally I do it on a blue microphone. So Christine went and got 2 listing appointments from FSBOs within 2 hours of signing up. She just got on the phone, looked at the script, said, all right, I can do that. She took 1.1 million in listings within a day. Oscar took 5 listings, had over 85 buyers at his first open house, and had to go out and hire 3 agents within his first 10 days. Right? Ron and Sherry have had over 600 visitors to their open house at their first 3 open houses. They average about 200 people at their open houses. They're currently working with about a dozen buyers. Average sale price $400,000. Right? Guys, here's the other thing. Remember, it's not how much you earn, it's also how much you keep. So one of the things when I looked at this, listen, there's a cost to it, there's no question. My goal was to turn it into a co-op cash machine. How do you offset some of the expense of that? Well, what if we're able to take and generate RESPA compliant co-op marketing opportunities? Because on everybody's website, we want you to link to the application page of your lender. And your lender has to sit in the open house and pre-approve people. How many lenders do you think are out in your market right now that would love to sit in an open house that you got, I don't care if it was 50 people in it, and they had to pre-approve them? And in order to bid on any of these properties, they have to be pre-approved. Otherwise, they can't bid. How many lenders in your market would love to suddenly work with you? Well, at the end of the day, wouldn't it be pretty good that they paid half the cost of it? Because they can do it, and it's RESPA compliant because they're all over it. They're at your open houses. So go out and do that, right? We link to their loan application page. This is my lender, right? Then we created a space in there for us to take and let people know who our partners are. What if you charge them like 25 bucks a month? They're not even RESPA people, right? Locksmiths, carpet cleaners, handymen. Just say, hey, you know what? In order to be compliant with the law, guys, I got to charge you like 25 bucks a month. I just bill it quarterly, and 75 bucks a month, or $75 a quarter. What if you went out and got 10 of those vendors paying you 25 bucks a month? Well, you're taking in 250 and you're spending 199. Or if you paid it annually, you're making 3,000 and you paid 1999. Do you work with more than one lender? I don't recommend it. No. I want one lender that I can count on. So it doesn't mean you can't. It's just my recommendation, right? We only give the allowance for one lender in there. Now, at the end of the day, guys, you got a couple choices, right? First option, you don't have to do anything. It's different. I get it. You can avoid all the risk going, oh my gosh, that's so much different. I'll have to learn all this. I get that. But convincing yourself that the status quo is less, is less risky, that's really easy for people to do. The second option is understand that there's a lot more risk in not changing and adapting to the new realities of competition. It's not the technology, folks. It's the competition. All this is in our marketplace. My real question is, when was the last time you made a change and go, oh my gosh, I'm going to make this change and I'm so scared, but it worked out amazing? We've all had it, right? This is just something different. So, excuse me. You go to auctionhousepro.com/GoJosh to get started, right? Now, you can pay annually and you get to 2 months set up. 2 months and setup free. So basically what you're getting is you don't pay setup and you're getting 2 months free. So when you go to auctionhousepro.com/GoJosh, you can click on that one. If you decide to do, you're going to save a bunch of money on that. You're going to save 25% on doing that, right? If you want to do the monthly installment plan, you can do it there. It's $299 the first month, $199 a month from that. It's $299 for the first month, $199 for the next 12 months. auctionhousepro.com/go. Guys, the big question that you have to answer, now I want you to use logic, not emotion. Which option is the best for your business? Keep doing what you're doing and getting the same results, or implement a system like this that allows you to deliver on the 3 things that sellers want most and have the ability to crush your competition. It's the only question you have to decide. I get that it's scary. I mean, the truth is, guys, what's one listing worth to you? I mean, 1, 5, 10, 15? The entire system pays for itself each year with just one listing. It's like, it's not that big of a risk, right? Well, what happens after year 1? Well, if you do the annual membership, it'll just rebill you for the $19.99 again for the next year. Pretty simple, right? So if you paid annually, you got your 2 months free, you saved all that money, and you'll save that going forward, right? If you did the monthly installment plan, it'll just keep billing you $199 a month. So that's all that's going to happen, right? So you're just going to go and choose that one. Guys, don't forget it's a tax deduction to your business. Now, if you're in the following states, again, Kentucky, I can't do this because I do not have an auctioneer. In the following states, Ohio, South Carolina, North Carolina, Florida, Georgia, Pennsylvania, we have an auctioneer. We had to hire an auctioneer. All the other states, you can do an online auction and you do not need an auctioneer's license. In South Carolina, North Carolina, Florida, all that, we have a auctioneer. We pay them $200 a transaction. We pay them $100 when we start the auction. We pay them $100 when it's over. The truth is, it does not matter if it sells. So I want to give you that disclosure because they have all the liability in all the laws in those states when the auction is actually going on. Once you establish, a contract and put it in escrow, their liability is done. So we don't have a way around that. That's just the laws in the state. My recommendation, I've got some people in Georgia, what they do, and in Florida, I guess it's very common that people charge the seller's fee, charge them a $300 auctioneer fee. But I do want to disclose that that's there. In Kentucky, I need to find an auctioneer who has 3 years of experience. So if you're on here in Kentucky and you know of somebody, that's all it takes for us to do that, and we can unlock that in Kentucky. But I wanted to disclose that here before I had anybody sign up. Now, what's going to happen when you sign up, it's going to redirect you. It's going to open a new tab. Please bookmark this page because this is where you submit all of your information to us. What domain registrar, like GoDaddy? We recommend just use GoDaddy. You will have to give us your username and password. You can change it before and after. It doesn't matter. There's really nothing we could steal in there. We just need to change over our servers to yours. Your logos, your name, your phone numbers, right? So we're going to do that one time and it's free of charge. If you come back and go, oh, I changed my mind, I want to do this and that, then our tech people have to charge you to make those changes. So get your information into us right the first time. Right? So make sure you bookmark the page. We're going to send you an email, by the way, that's going to have all this information on it too. So don't worry about it. Now, if you're in the following markets, Chicago, Dallas, Austin, Charlotte, Boise, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Palm Beach, Nashville, Southern Cal, Philadelphia, we would like to talk to you because we're looking to expand there. Right? So here's what we're looking for. We're looking for agents to help build teams in those local markets so that 3 to 5 years from now, using this platform, 80% of your income would come from referral fees from others working with you and 20% coming from real estate transactions. If you want to talk about that, here's what I'd like you to do. You're going to want to write this one down, and Josh probably should put it in the email follow-ups. What we'd like you to do is talk with Josh, schedule a time using his Calendly link. You go to calendly.com/Josh-Shanley. We're going to talk about how we can work together, build a team together, and access all those investors that buy the properties and do all those things. Is that required of you? It's not. But if you think that would be the kind of business that you would want, Josh and I personally working with you like that, then you'd want to do that. Fair enough? So with that, I'm going to go to questions. I'm going to leave all this stuff up here, auctionhousepro.com/GoJosh. Our email address is auctionnetworkhelp@gmail.com. This is my direct number. So afterwards, if you want to call me, feel free to do it. I tend to be on the phone a lot after these. So just leave a name and number and I'll call you back. Okay, so that's how you can get a hold of us. Do you work with more than one lender? Don't recommend it, but you could. Do we have to change companies? You don't. We might tell you there's a good reason you might consider it, but you don't have to do that. No. Do you have how many in the DC, Maryland area already? We do have some people, Roger. So the truth is, I'd probably like to talk to you and find out where you're at. Again, guys, I'm going to tell you this. I don't have it where I say, hey, I only put 2 people in a market or anything like that. It's almost impossible to do, but we do pay attention to it. The real reason is we don't want 5 agents sending out the same postcard to the same FSBOs and expireds or using the same script to that. So we try and manage that as much as we possibly can. I didn't say it's a perfect system, but for that, I can just tell you, Roger, DC, Maryland, you're going to want to reach out and let me find out where you're at and all that kind of stuff, okay? And that's why I gave you that list of people in there like to talk to you. Let's see, you have your own auction site? Yes. So you would have your own auction site. It's branded to you. It's your domain. It's customized by you. You have your ability to blog in there. Somebody said, can I cancel my Boomtown website if I have this? Eric, I don't know if I tell you. It depends on what your business is structured like, and I'm happy to talk to you about it if you want to call me afterwards. If you still do Facebook ads and generate and drip on people and all that other stuff, I would tell you probably not. This is specifically for that. But my real answer is, guys, if we go back to the beginning of the webinar and you were sitting on all these listings and you can get all these people into your open house, why do you need to spend any money on Facebook ads, Zillow leads, or any of it? Now, that's a personal choice, but I would tell you to consider it. So I'm happy to kind of review that with you, Eric, if you want to call me afterwards and do that, but no problem. Again, depends on what your business is structured like, but it's not a CRM other than the auctions. It does follow up on the auctions. It does send emails out, all that about the auctions. It has the ability to mail things out, but it does not replace your CRM that says, hey, call, Josh Shanley today. He's ready to buy now. It does not do that. So that's that. So let me come up. I know. Is there an offer to join his agency? We could definitely talk about that, Roger. Yes. It's certainly an option. So what do I mean by agents? It's agents on our team. Is there a price range where this system works better for? That's actually a good question. Obviously, you can sell a luxury home that way. I have an agent who is licensed in Michigan, sold a $4.5 million home in Sedona, Arizona on an auction. Now, he did pay a referral fee to a licensed agent in auction, licensed agent in Arizona. But he was able to take and sell that via auction. Luxury homes do sell by auction, a little bit different marketing. For me, I will just tell you my ideal marketing has nothing to do with price range for auction. When I teach classes on how do you build a business and build it quickly and actually build a real estate business, not a real estate job, I have our agents research the top 3 price points in any market, and that's where I focus my efforts. There's more homes to sell, more homes to close. Doesn't mean that I don't like working in the luxury markets and getting huge commissions. It's just a personal opinion for me. But I would tell you, yeah, let's say, for us in Phoenix, anywhere from 200 to 400, killer. We'll get tons of people into them. 400 to 750, we'll get less people, but we've sold and we just closed on one 488, I believe it was. So you'll sell them. It's just different marketing. That's all. But yeah, it'll always work better because there's just more people in a lower price range. Depends on where you're at in Canada. It only shows you as friends, so I don't know where that's at. You can definitely do auctions in Toronto and Ontario. You don't need a license for that. In my rural area, how do you determine what to price the house for the auction? That's a great question. Personally, I like to do 20% less than what the house is worth. Right? If we think about how do we get more people into the house, price is the number one driver. Do it. Now, you do run into that where I talked about that in the webinar where, you're going to get people who aren't qualified to buy that particular house. I'm okay with that because they're actors in a play, if you will. And so for me, I want to get as many people in the house as possible. I pick up a bunch of buyers, but it also subliminally puts pressure on the people who really do like that house and can qualify that, oh my goodness, look at all these people.
And the practical example of that is you determine the house is worth approximately 300, 240 would be a 20% discount.
Yeah, that's a sweet spot. So like that house in Banning that we did, it was worth about 300, 315, but we did 199, 950. And we did that because it was so far out. That's all it is. Somebody said HUD doesn't charge a buyer's premium. They don't call it a buyer's premium, but you have to add it in there, or you add it to your price and then they subtract it. So however you get there the same way, but you're right, they don't call it buyer's premium. Do you get a lot of resistance from buyer's agents? You will get a lot of questions. I don't know so much that it's resistance, but you get a lot of questions. You have to educate. There's no question, guys. This is different. Can you set the commission rates? I think I answered that one, right? You have complete control over what you want to make the buyer's premium. Absolutely.
Someone asked about getting the lender to pay for the Auction House Pro platform. I mean,
there's no reason they can't, folks. I mean, Listen, from a compliance, a RESPA compliance standpoint, so I used to own my own mortgage company. If I could pay $200 a month, I don't care if I took 4 or 5 pre-approvals every month. Oh my goodness, right? I'm going to probably close 3 of the 5, and I'm going to make, I don't know, depending on your market, $4,000 to $10,000 per loan. I don't know about you, but I'd pay $200 for that. How can one be part of your organization? Schedule that call with Josh, and he can talk to you about that, and him and I can both talk about it. Go to calendly.com/Josh-Shanley.
Put the home in the MLS as an auction. Does it get MLS exposure and syndicate with all the usual IDX sites?
It does.
Yeah.
Yep, it does.
You don't put it in there as an auction, like as the. You would do that in the notes, correct?
By and large, it depends on if your MLS system has an auction provision, like ours in Arizona does, Houston, Texas does. Many do, some don't. But then, yeah, it's all in the notes. All the disclosures are in there about, we upload a doc that explains how buyer's premium works and all those things. So at that point, yes, it is. But more and more MLSs are adding that in. So Eric said, yes, ours has an auction provision. So is this an auction? It is 100% an auction, Eric. Yeah. So like, what market are you in, Eric? Because that, they have the auction provision. So it's simple that way. And then they still use the same Huntsville, Alabama. So you still disclose all this stuff and you still do it the same way. But if you have an auction provision, it just helps. Like that auction that we did in Banning, California, the truth is we only had it for 7 days. They didn't spend a penny to market it. It's really because it hit Zillow. As much as I do not care for Zillow, I will tell you, I'll use it to our advantage. And so as soon as we put it in MLS, it's syndicated. So you had a house for $300,000 worth $300,000 for $199. That's why we got the traffic we got. What if a home doesn't sell at auction? That's a great question. So my typical response would be to tell you to pull it off the market for 2 weeks and do it again. Usually if a house didn't sell, about 50% of the time it'll sell a second time. Now, there's kind of that depends kind of answer for that. If they're just overpriced and it's not reasonable and it didn't sell, then I would move on from it. And you just did it because, well, you felt you could do an open house and you figured, what the heck? Then do it. Then it worked out. Or then you just go and put it in traditionally. So, but I will tell you, typically, again, as long as you do things the right way, depending on price, location, lots of different things, the majority of our homes are going to sell by auction. What happens if the house, like in Banning, where the highest price was $280, but we had all those people that registered to bid, we had them all pre-approved, and they said, well, we didn't, we won't do $300 plus the buyer's premium. We would have just gone to the other 19 people, say the person backed out. If you join this program to get access to your investor network to offer just cash closings, you're going to want to schedule a call with Josh to kind of go through that. So unfortunately, I only have the name friend in there. So, if you do that, schedule a call with Josh, we can walk you how that works. I have one pocket listing that I may choose. Why did I cut all that off? I got to expand. How should it work out? I'm not sure that I necessarily understand that question, but if you got a listing that's not on the MLS, that's a perfect candidate for an auction. Guys, here's what I will tell you. Once you get the confidence and understand how this works, I'm just telling you, get out of the way. Some of those people that I showed you that are testimonials off of our groups and their agents on my team that are doing this stuff, once you get confident in it, like, there's nothing that can stop you. Many of you right now are hesitant, go, my gosh, this is so new, I don't know what to do. I get that. Is your platform auction.com? No, it's not. These are proprietary websites. This is something that we personally built, created the technology for it, created all the marketing for it. This has nothing to do with auction.com. So auction.com is like 99.99% foreclosure property. What if my broker doesn't allow you to do that? That's a great question, because your broker does have to, I would certainly let them know because you're working in their name. If they don't, you're going to want to schedule a call with Josh. It's not, auctions aren't in your MLS yet. Doesn't matter if it's in your MLS or not, guys. Then you just have to disclose things the right way. That's all. And so we have all that verbiage and disclosure. It's been through our brokerage's lawyers, and it hasn't been an issue anywhere else. Now, we've had a couple of MLSs, like in Utah, tell us you can't put the price that low. And we go through and argue with them. It's like, really? Well, where does that say that? I say, well, you got to put it in with the buyer's premium. All right, well, I'll lower the price and add the buyer's premium in it. Cool. So there's ways to do that stuff. So we've had a couple of MLSs who do that, and we get around it pretty, relatively easily because auctions are allowed, folks.
Not in the MLS yet. How should I start using your system? Well, you get signed up with the Auction House Pro platform, and as you go through everything that Bob's including, you can, which, depending on how aggressive and how much of an action take you are, that could take a couple of days, and then you can use that pocket listing as your first, listing in the program, your first Auction House pro soiree, and then you can turn that into multiple transactions in a perfect world, right? With the buyers that you're going to generate, and then the story that it might create, giving you the opportunity to potentially get other listings in the neighborhood or in the general area.
And so just know all the disclosures and all that is in the mastermind area, folks. And it just goes into your listing agreement wherever it's appropriate. Because another question, how do you enter it in MLS? Disclose no fee to brokers, agents. You do disclose a fee. And so it's just all in there, folks. I could walk you through how all that works. Just trust me, it's all in there. And you're going to be completely transparent, right? I'm going to put, let's assume I did a 6% buyer's premium. I'm going to put 6% buyer's premium. And then I'm going to put the disclosures in there that it's paid through the buyer and blah, 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 blah. And so we're going to be completely transparent. We're not trying to hide anything. The truth is, the more transparent that we are, the less you have to explain it to the other agents. So we disclose that it's in there. We disclose how it works. There's actually a document that you can put in that just the notes. Hey, make sure you read the notes. It's all over the website. When we build the website, if somebody wants to register, the terms of service are in there, how it works. It's very clear for real estate agents how it works. And trust me, we over disclose it so that you don't have the headaches.
There's a ton of questions. And what I want to reiterate is we are going to send you the recording and the slides later tonight or tomorrow morning, because a lot of these questions are addressed throughout the presentation. It's just that there was a lot of information in here, and it's very unique and different than probably the way you've thought about building this business. And so some of you, I can tell, are struggling with, certain pieces of it. Just know that Bob has done all the work to make this work for you, and that everything, every I is dotted and T is crossed, where as far as all of the information and what you need to successfully do this is inside the members area. And if there isn't something, you can reach out to Bob and his team, and they'll get it resolved for you. But I want to reiterate, you will. This is one of the longer webinars we've ever had, but we'll get you the recording of the entire thing and the slides and all of that again later tonight or first thing tomorrow morning. Check it out again. You can schedule a call. You can email me with additional questions or concerns or whatever. Just understand that everything is lined up for you.
And it's been run through all of our lawyers. I have personal lawyers that we've run it through. We have our brokerages lawyers that we've run it through. So trust me, we've gone through all this stuff. So we do know how to do it. But like Josh said, guys, it's different. I get it. I recommend you do watch it a couple of times, to be quite honest with you. Eric, I would tell you to call me back, or call me before you do anything. He goes, hey, if my broker says no and I signed up, I would tell you, we give you 48 hours. That's one of the reasons we do it. But I would tell you to call me anyway. You got some other questions. Do you have to talk to your broker in charge in letting you do this? I would recommend it, folks. What I would tell you is if your broker in charge doesn't let you do that, then you're going to want to come back and schedule a call with Josh, because we can help you with that. Do you have to be tech savvy to use the system? You're going to have to know your way, folks. It's pretty simple in all the how you use it. So at the end of the day, you're going to need to not be afraid of it anyway. So does South Carolina have an online auction capability? Yeah, you can do it online. We just need an auctioneer. That's one of those states. But I cannot trust their system. Looking for somebody organized. That's me. Well, that's me. Because there are a few auctioneers in this area, but I can't trust their system. Looking for somebody organization with selling and something. Are you? Yes. Eric, if you want to do that, you could do that. You don't have to, but you could. I suggest you'd be smart. I'll show you some ideas there. But not required. How do you get the seller to improve the condition of the house? Guys, that's normal stuff. We've been on 2 hours. I don't mind staying on and answering questions, but at the end of the day, we've been on an hour and 55.
Yeah, I've got a hard out in about 2 minutes.
Yep.
So, and a lot of these are somewhat repetitive, or they're either repetitive or very specific. So here's what, let's do this. We're going to wrap up, come in for a landing here. And then if you still have a question, like a specific question that you just didn't understand from it, and that might be specific to your state or whatever, feel free to reach out to us. Bob's got his email on there, his number. You can email me, josh@clientalchemist.com. You can schedule a call, whatever. We don't, we're happy to answer all your questions. We want to be fully transparent, and we want to make sure that, if you're going to jump on this platform, that it makes sense for you. For many of you, it will, but not for everybody. So to reiterate, you can go to auctionhousepro.com/GoJosh. The link's in the chat a number of times as well. You can schedule a call if you're interested in the offer on the screen right now and how we can help you build a team in your local market so that you can build up your referral base and your referral fees. Certainly, we encourage you to do that. I'll be happy to chat with you and Bob as well. And again, if you have a specific question that we missed, please reach out. We'd be happy to answer those for you. Bob, any last words of wisdom?
I think that's it. My phone number is on the screen, so don't hesitate. I trust me. I get people have lots of questions. It's because it's different, so don't worry about it. But yeah, it went fairly long, but there's so much information to cover that unfortunately it does.
Right, and because of that, and because of what Bob has put together, for those of you who do decide to get started, this gives you a massive competitive advantage. I mean, you cannot disagree with the fact that if you can be the one in your market saying, here's how I can help you sell your home fast and for top dollar, and oh, by the way, for zero commission to you, that is a unique selling proposition that is not only factually accurate, but is unlike what anyone else in your market is going to be able to deliver. Not like the phony card I got in the mail yesterday telling me how this guy's going to buy my house cash, and he just happens to be a real estate agent, and our home is in the $400,000 range. This is a real unique selling proposition that you can leverage and take advantage of for those of you who get started and jump on the Auction House Pro platform. The Calendly link again.
Well, I have Josh's Calendly link on the page. I can't get it to copy in there, so pull it off of there, Roger.
Yep. And Roger, just email me if you're still struggling to pull it up. So thanks everybody. Bob, especially thank you for putting this together, for sharing 2 hours of your incredibly valuable time today, and for opening up a lot of eyes to a different and better way to build this business and to help the consumers. So really good stuff.
Well,
thank you.
I appreciate
the recording and all that out later tonight or tomorrow morning, and hopefully we'll talk again real soon.
All right, folks, have a great day.